This to me feels like the moment where the Clark Kent is pulling the white shirt off and you're starting to see these S underneath, like the revealing of what they hope will be some sort of superpower, a next super phase. And they've been paying the dividends toward that for decades now. And so as you look at what they're doing, can you just give us a broad base before we get into the specifics of what they've done recently? Give us a broad-based view, akin to the one I just ticked off, of what they are doing globally to grow and expand their influence.
Yeah, so China actually they view power different from the United States and most of the world. They're obsessed with this concept of power, but they're not only focused on military and economic power, they're focused on political leadership throughout the world. So they see it very much as a numbers game. They see most countries are not liberal democratic countries. Most countries are not necessarily even aligned with the United States. And what they're hoping to do is really get the majority of countries slowly to sort of back them. And so I guess it's one way you could look at it is, well they're rolling out tons of new initiatives. Just yesterday, they rolled out what they call the Global Civilization Initiative. They have the Global Security Initiative, the Global Development Initiative. And all of these are very vague initiatives. We don't really mean what, we don't necessarily know what they mean in practice. They're not clear. But what they're doing is they're trying to appeal to three types of countries. One are the rogue states that detest America's leadership just as much as they do. The next type are authoritarian countries that may be aligned with the US, like you talk about Saudi Arabia and countries like that, but they're not necessarily comfortable with the liberal norms, human rights norms and whatnot that the US stands for, and with US exerting and sort of promoting these norms internationally. And then there's the third type, which is the global south, or the developing countries that haven't really benefited as much from the global order led by the US as North America, much of Northeast Asia, and of course, Western Europe. And so a lot of what China does to us sounds like, oh, there's no way anyone's going to align with that. There's no way anyone's going to see them as a constructive party with regards to Ukraine and Russia, for example. But we're not their target. Their target is actually much more susceptible to their overtures and their messages. And so you can really think of them as almost, they're more interested in messaging than they are in substance. And I would say just one last thing about that is it's also sort of related to how the Communist Party took power in China in the first place. You know, it was a prolonged struggle. They almost were defeated several times. But in the end, they managed to take power, and they did that by appealing to the masses, which were the workers and peasants, against the minority landowners and political elites and economic elites. And so what they're doing on the global stage is really going after the majority of countries, trying to peel them away from the US-led system little by little in a international community where one country gets one vote in most international organizations. What they manage to do then is use political and economic leverage to get individual states to vote according to their desires as well.
Toward what end exactly? That last answer sort of got to it, but then what, right? If they can align these America-hating countries or people who are just not that thrilled with, the way we operate, what's the end goal?
Yeah, it's an alternative world order where China is the dominant power, and basically what they say goes. I mean, in substance, they don't really have anything that is different, really. I mean, they talk about common values. They reject the idea of universal values that we stand by. But they talk about common values, which are just different names for the same values, except the difference is they define them. And if they're not obeying those rules, well, we have the wrong a misunderstanding of what those rules actually are because they define them.
Could this happen?
It very well could. I mean, it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow, but we need to, as the United States, the world is actually counting on us to remain the leaders, the global leaders. And so, we have China making incredible inroads in the developing world. We should really be worried about that. We're not going to compete with them when it comes to the rogue states that hate America. Those are basically on China's side. There's not much we can do unless we can manage to drive a wedge between them. But what we should really be focusing on is the developing world. China has incredible influence in Africa, and they're making a lot of progress in Latin America in our own backyard. I know, previously John Kerry, when he was Secretary of State, said that the Monroe Doctrine no longer exists. I think many of us in America would disagree with that. We need to maintain American influence and superiority in the Western Hemisphere, for sure.
Why are they buying up so much farmland in America?
Well, that's actually a pretty complex issue. I mean, the simple answer is who is buying the farmland, and usually it's Chinese companies or Chinese individuals. I think mostly companies. And China has a food security problem. They have lots of concerns with that. They have 1.4 billion people to feed. And so that's one of the reasons. What's really concerning, though, is that some of this farmland happens to be in very sensitive areas close to American military bases. And that strikes me as just, it strikes most people in America, apparently, as very dangerous, that they would buy land close to a sensitive military base here. And we don't really know what they're doing with that land. We don't have the same processes in place. If I wanted to buy farmland in China, it probably wouldn't be approved. But if it would, I would have to fill out a very in-depth application about every single thing I'm going to use that farmland for. And they would, review it for national security considerations, food security, all sorts of different policies. And if they approved it, they would hold me to it. But what happens here is, I think, if they get approval to buy this land, I mean, they might be setting up technology to surveil our military sites. I don't think we have any oversight of what they do once they buy that land.
Sherry from Omaha, Nebraska has this to say about Genucel. Quote, I have sensitive skin and I am careful about all products. Then my husband bought me Genucel's immediate effects product and the Genucel deep firming serum. Felt it working immediately. Eyes look amazing, face feels smooth, and it diminished the appearance of wrinkles. So impressed. And thanks to Genucel and my husband, I take Genucel everywhere, end quote. And it's not just Sherry. Genucel has sold over 1 million products to women and men across this great country. Say goodbye to fine lines and wrinkles and even those annoying under-eye bags and puffiness from years of endless Zoom calls and the like. Look 5, 10, even 15 years younger, just in time for the warmer weather. Best of all, guaranteed results in as little as 12 hours or your money back. Go to Genucel.com to see for yourself with 70% off their most popular package, all their best stuff, including the classic under-eye bags and puffiness treatment, free shipping, and luxury beauty box containing 2 free gifts with every subscription right now. Go to Genucel.com/MK60, GENUCEL.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.